Has CM Punk's first AEW Collision opponent been revealed? Plus, WWE are planning another international stadium event, and an NXT call-up is teasing a feud with a WWE Hall of Famer. It's all in the wrestling news right now. Punk's return seems to be on the horizon once more. The internet's no doubt going to lose their collective you-know-whats.
Yes, yeah.
Should CM Punk make an appearance next week? Tony Khan touting some big announcements. One of those looking like it's going to be Collision, which will be a show, as we've talked about. There'll be around CM Punk and a roster that is soft split.
Yes, definitely.
But who is Punk going to be facing early out of the blocks on this brand new show?
Well, let's tell people.
Big show.
The big show. What was it? There was the AEW Fight Forever gameplay that was CM Punk versus Big Show, wasn't it?
Do it, you cowards.
Teasing something. No, should we tell the lovely, lovely people what's going on? So this comes from, well, we will though anyway, regardless. This comes from Fightful Select. They say CM Punk will be heading up the Collision brand as its featured player. We've been told that a Chris Jericho program has been pitched and that the two even had what was called a productive meeting in recent weeks in Florida. However, sources close to Punk have indicated that he's become increasingly interested in working with Samoa Joe. Ooh. Now, Joe has not wrestled on AEW TV since Revolution when he dropped the TNT title to Wardlow. However, he's been a regular on Ring of Honor TV as their World Television Champion.
Now, this was a name that we threw out there yesterday because I think a few people had mentioned that would be a potential competitor, but I think Fightful Select saying that there is some legitimate reason to think that Joe will be the first guy makes it quite tasty. Punk and Joe have quite the history.
They certainly do, and this was one of the things when we heard that CM Punk was coming back into the fold of things. That was one of the things I think in the pictures that I was like, I would like to see a CM Punk and Samoa Joe match once again between the two. Now, obviously, you know, they're a little bit slower these days as to what they were back in the day when they were having those banger matches in Ring of Honor. But I feel like because they're like such high regarded matches, and you know, you've got 1, 2, and 3 so far, to do a 4, you could definitely do like a long program that doesn't involve them having loads of matches together, just like one big build to this huge blow off. And you know, if you do sort of like it doesn't have to be a super fashion. Well, I don't know actually. What do you think? Because it doesn't have to be a long match necessarily.
No, not at all. I think that they're both. Whilst you're right, they're not the as pacey as they were back in the mid-teens when this happened. Sorry, the mid-noughties when it happened. But they're masters of the craft.
Exactly.
You don't need to be going 100 miles an hour to make an amazing wrestling match. And I think that these two have got the skill set built from many, many years doing it to put on something incredible. If this is indeed where we go, I think there's there is something there. Fightful Select say they cannot confirm whether the pitch or the suggestion was a one-off match or whether, as Andrew was intimating there, was an extended program. We don't know at this point. And AEW sources aren't discussing anything related to Collision in general, much less the match is planned, because obviously Collision isn't out there yet. Yeah. It's funny how we talk about it as if it's already been announced, but we haven't had the official announcement from TNT or TK yet. So I guess once that announcement is out there, then they may be a bit more open to discussing plans for the show. But let's announce the show officially first.
Yeah, definitely.
What happens if we turn around on Wednesday and the announcement is, I've bought a duck?
I'd be pretty buzzing for that, I'm not gonna lie. If Tony Khan is like, I bought a duck, after all that build-up, I've bought a duck, I would be as happy as Larry the dog, as CM Punk's dog. I'd absolutely be as happy as Larry.
I'd be happy as Jasper the cat, Darkside Phil's cat. Now, we'll keep an eye on this, but obviously we'll know news next week on Tony Khan's big announcement. We'll get to that next week. Back to WWE, another international stadium event is on the cards, apparently, and I am not surprised. We go back to Clash at the Castle in September. What a phenomenal night that was. WrestleMania, always a banger. Whilst it wasn't a stadium event, That show in Puerto Rico for Backlash, phenomenal night.
So good.
Amazing. No one does that quite like WWE, I don't believe. And Becky Lynch was speaking to Mark Andrews on his podcast, My Love Letter to Wrestling. It's back on BBC Sounds right now. I'm on next week, I think.
You're on next week?
After.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
He gets around, this guy.
Get around.
He gets around.
You can get it on the BBC Sounds app right now. He was chatting to Mark Andrews with Becky Lynch, and she was talking about WWE doing a stadium event in Ireland. And Becky said, we were talking about that. I gave the venue and all. I gave the venue and all. They already asked that we can have one. I don't know that we have the population to sustain it in Ireland, but I think when you have the UK and Europe so close, absolutely.
Absolutely. I think a stadium show in Ireland would be amazing. I always really look forward to these international shows now, because it's the crowd that really makes the show what it is. Obviously, Clash was fantastic, and as we saw recently, as you said, Backlash too. Straight out of the gate, the crowd, it felt like this was going to be a really special night of wrestling, and you know, when you start when you've got areas that are starved of having these big wrestling shows, everybody's gonna blow off quite nicely.
Blow off quite nicely. And it's been a while since Ireland had an event of this magnitude. They have had a stadium event many years before, and Aidan, bless him, he sent me the card for it before I came downstairs, and then I just forgot to print it off. So thanks to Aidan Gibbons, our Cultaholic tribal editor-in-chief. But I believe that Steve Austin was a guest referee in a huge main event for that.
What?
Yes.
That sounds cool.
They threw everything at this show. And also there were plans, of course, to do NXT UK TakeOver Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
Or TakeOver, to do a show in Dublin, rather, before the pandemic happened. And then it was moved back and then just forgotten about.
We never got it, did we? Was that the one with the Finn Balor and Walter match?
The rumour was it was going to be Finn Balor and Walter in the top.
And we never got it.
We talked, when I spoke to Balor a couple of years back, he mentioned that WWE had sort of plans to put him and Walter on, and then they just sort of had to shelve it because the way they wanted to pay it off was going to be the main event of NXT UK TakeOver Dublin.
We can do it on Raw now.
We can do it on Raw.
I just realised, yes, baby.
Oh, imagine that's... But no, the match that we need for an Ireland International Stadium event to headline it, you've got to do Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The heat!
That would be so good though as well, wouldn't it? That just writes itself.
It writes itself, Bonnie lads. Now, talking of writing itself, Bad Bunny didn't write that amazing story himself. He had some assistance from somebody behind the scenes, didn't he?
Yeah,
Andrew?
he did.
There's a match from Backlash, I'm referring to.
Yes, so it was Brian Kendrick. He was a guest on Hitting the Turnbuckle and revealed that he was indeed involved in getting Bad Bunny ready for the San Juan street fight at Backlash. He said, I think because of the comfort level we had built with Bunny and they requested me to come back for that. I know Bunny put in a lot of training. I thought the match was awesome. The statement suggests that Kendrick's backstage involvement, however, was just a one-off deal.
Yes, indeed. Now, he was also recently producing Ronda Rousey versus Shotzi at request of Ronda, so that went well. It's a weird thing to hang your hat on.
Backlash was a redeeming factor.
Backlash, we got it right there. So Kendrick's still very much on the periphery with WWE. They don't seem to be bringing him back in full time, but where needed, they're leaning on his expertise.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him popping up again. We could see an NXT call-up popping up in the face of a WWE Hall of Famer. So Edge last night shared a very emotional promo on Twitter. Didn't even call it a promo, just a little selfie camera video in his training session as he was getting ready for tonight. He's in a triple threat match against AJ Styles and Rey Mysterio as part of the tournament for the World Heavyweight title. He talks about how the world title reminds him of the belt that he had to give up.
Yes, it looks like big gold.
It looks like big gold, which I believe is the first time he ever referred to the belt he had as big gold.
Oh, that's cool.
And also, I think it gives, because there's some grey areas to the lineage of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and when he says it reminds me of that belt, maybe suggests that it isn't going to, like some people thought, carry on the World Heavyweight title lineage.
Yeah, just start anew, afresh.
Start anew on that, it seems. But he said basically, I want to get back in there, I want to win the world title, end my story the right way. When I lose the world title, that's it, I'm done. Yeah. And I quite like that story. I'm going to wrestle as champion until I'm beat, and then I'm gone.
It's it's an example of why Edge is so good as well, because before this, I'd have been like, yeah, Edge is world champion, not too fussed. He puts out something like this, a 2-minute video, and I'm like, oh man, I kind of want him to do it now.
Yeah.
Like, that's how good he is. That's how good he is. And I personally would like to see fantasy booking once again, run it back, Seth Rollins and Edge for that championship at Night of Champions.
They have great chemistry.
Yep.
One person that may play spoiler for that is Grayson Waller, I fear. He responded to Edge's promo saying, I have so many questions. If only I had a talk show that would allow them to happen. Grayson Waller, obviously the host of the Grayson Waller Effect. We could easily see these two have a little showdown.
Yeah, we certainly could. And we already know, obviously, with how the Judgment Day kicked off and stuff, that Edge likes to help new up-and-coming talent too. So what better person to pair Grayson Waller with? Grayson Waller, incredibly charismatic person as it is already. I think him and Edge would, I think he'd benefit with being in there with Edge, even though he's already good, just to elevate him up that extra level.
Because he's got those sort of flecks of Edge circa 2000.
Yes, he does.
You know, not with the whole reeking of awesomeness and all that stuff, but that arrogant swagger.
Yeah, the cockiness, right?
The cool and cockiness that I think Edge could have some fun with in promo land alongside with Grayson Waller.
Definitely.
Shoey's all round if that comes to life. We'll find out on SmackDown maybe tonight.
I'll go for the shoey.
Go for a shoey.
I'll go for a shoey, mate.
It's like a tinny, but in a shoe. For more, we'll have more wrestling news throughout the day at cultaholic.com. Gaze.
I love you, bye.